Hello, hello. Welcome to K and K Real Talk. I am so excited about the interview we're doing today. So if this is your first time watching or listening, I am Kenny King, holistic health and wellness coach and transformation life coach. I help women with endometriosis reduce and better manage their symptoms naturally. And our the other K, Kristen McCrovey, she's not with us today because we're doing an interview. But as always, you can find her at endometriosisandme.com. So today I have such an exciting guest that I've had the opportunity to meet before, and I've actually had clients who have worked with her, and her work is so inspirational and fabulous. Her name is Dr. Paula Kruppstadt. We know her lovingly as Dr. K. She is a functional medical doctor. Paula, I'm so happy to have you here today.
Well, Kenny, thank you so much for hosting me. I'm grateful to be here.
Absolutely. So for those of you who are watching, she is calling in, so you're not going to see her face pop up, but don't worry, she's going to give us some great ways to follow her later on as we're chatting. So Dr. K, can you please just share a little bit about functional medicine and the focus of your work?
Sure. First of all, I just wanted to say that I've got a little bit of a cold, so I'm pumping my vitamin C, D, immunoglobulins, all that, trying to get more rest right now, but I'm about several notes lower than what I usually sound like. So just wanted to preface that. Well, functional medicine is different from conventional medicine in that you look at the entire person. So when you go to the doctor in a conventional medicine approach, it's looking at your symptom and management of that symptom, like one disease and one system. But functional medicine is what we call systems-based approach, or a systems biology approach, where you look at the whole person and you try to find the root cause of illness by looking at their nutrition, their lifestyle factors, that's nutrition, their environment, and the interactions also between their genetics and those things. So it's not disease-centered focus, it's more patient-centered. So you look at the whole person, not just their symptoms. So an example would be if someone comes to me saying, I have headaches and they're especially bad right around my period, then instead of just saying, okay, you have headaches and it's period related, here you need a birth control pill or you need Depo-Provera, and let's see if that helps you. It's why are you getting the headaches to begin with? So digging for the root cause. It's also the difference between functional medicine is that you need longer visits. It's not a pill for the ill. Here, take your prescription and leave. I'll see you. And I saw you for 8 minutes. It's more like an hour to an hour and a half. And we look at a person's entire life and all those factors that matter. So that's just in a nutshell what functional medicine is, seeking the root cause for an illness.
Mm-hmm. And so you take in nutrition, lifestyle, environment, and pretty much all of the different areas and life history, of course, all of those areas where treating it as a whole and just looking at all the different things that could be impacting this particular person.
Yes. So really foundationally, and this is where Kenny, what you do is looking at, coaching someone with lifestyle and stress, relationships, nutrition, exercise and movement, sleep and relaxation, the basics, how much water a person is drinking, how often they poop, what their poop looks like, those kind of things. That's, those are modifiable personal lifestyle factors. That forms the foundation of what you're doing. But then when you hear a person's story and you find out what their things called antecedents, predisposing factors, genetic and environmental, what their family history was, what triggering events, usually a patient can say, this is when I started to feel bad. This triggered the change in my health. Patients know, or if they don't know, sometimes telling their story back to them or looking at the timeline help them discover, oh yeah, that's when that started. And then what are the things that continue to mediate or perpetuate those problems, those symptoms they're having, but what is the root cause? So just a real quick example, I recently had a patient come to see me that developed breast cancer, and she had about 12 weeks of radiation in her chest over her left chest wall. And later that year, she developed asthma and some heart problems. But as we went through the timeline, no one had ever connected the dots to her that the asthma type symptoms and her heart symptoms developed right after the radiation. And so destruction to her lung tissue and her heart from radiation treatment pinpointed at her breast cancer in her left chest wall and left chest is what triggered her asthma. So what do we do then? We look deep and we say, okay, why did you have this aggressive inflammatory invasion of breast cancer to begin with, and what triggered your asthma? And so that's kind of how I look at things. It's not like, okay, you're wheezing, here, use this inhaler. It's try to find out why and how. And if you treat the root cause, many times you can regain function and hopefully restoration back to good health.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll stop there.
That was a wonderful example, and it's so inspiring to see this this whole area where the care that we really need, that there are actually practitioners like you that are out there providing this type of care, because this is such a missing link. I mean, it can't, I don't even think it could be one link. It's such a big part, but
Yes.
so important. And so I'm curious, what was it that made you want to become a functional medical doctor? Because I know, well, I'll let you just share, because I know for a while you were on the conventional side. Is that right?
Right, you bet. Really good question. I'll briefly tell you about my background. I knew when I was a young kid that I wanted to do something to help people. And in 8th grade, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. And I've always loved kids. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. I went to medical school in the state of Texas in San Antonio and graduated there in 1990. And my family, there are no doctors. My parents did not have the money to send me to medical school. And so I looked for different routes, and my dad had been in the Air Force. So I applied to the different services, and I was accepted into the Army. And so I went to a Texas State Medical School, and then during the summers and during my senior year, I did a lot of rotations at Army medical facilities. And so I did a pediatric internship and residency at a military hospital, William Beaumont Army Medical Center in El Paso, Texas. I met my husband there. He was a field artillery officer, and then he got out and went to law school. And then after I finished, I went to Fort Hood, Texas, and was a pediatrician there. But one thing, looking back at my life, I didn't really realize this, is that I had been sad and had depressive symptoms from the time I was a kid, but I always put on a happy face. I always wanted to be a people pleaser, but I was also the oldest of 4 kids. And then when I got to med school, my coping mechanisms just kind of, I thought it was normal to cry every day. And so the first 2 years of medical school, I literally cried almost every day and never let anybody know about it. I just thought, this is what I have to do. I just have to suck it up and power through. And then when I reached my 3rd year and we were in psychiatry and I was listening, I thought, gosh, I think I have depression. And I can laugh about it now because I'm doing so well, but and then I looked back at my family and I saw that my dad had struggled with it for years. So, when I was a senior, actually 3rd year, I gathered my courage and I approached my dad, and he finally went to his doctor. And, then I was able to cope well up until I got into my internship. And then I got married my 2nd year. My 2nd year, I was like, man, I'm just not doing really well. I should be as happy as I could be. I'm done with my internship. I'm in my 2nd year of residency. I'm a newlywed. I should be happy. And I sought psychiatric care, and that began just, years of a pill for the ill, conventional medicine approach. And I just thought, well, heck, I'm just going to be on a antidepressant all my life. And, I got through the years, but then I got out of the military and I started eating to medicate myself. Food was my drug of choice. And I knew in my brain that this wasn't good, but I felt better when I ate. And like a typical woman, I craved carbs and sugar and chocolate. And I was elevating my serotonin for a little bit, but then my blood sugar would plummet and the cycle would continue. And I ate myself into oblivion. And my weight, skyrocketed up to almost 280 pounds. And here I was, 36 years old, almost 300 pounds, chest pain, walking across the room. And I had sleep apnea, and I had a sleep study. I needed a CPAP machine so I didn't have apneic episodes. And because of the chest pain, I sought cardiac care, and I had calcifications in my coronary arteries as a premenopausal woman. So I had a calcium score of 12, which for someone now, I'm 54 years old. I just had my calcium score done a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it was the same. It was 12. And that was, 16 or so years after I had that original scan done. So that was good. We halted the inflammation and the deposition of calcium in my coronary arteries. But my score should have been 0 as a young woman. So I did what I thought at the time would be something that would save my life, and it did. But now, would have, could have, should have. I wish I'd never done it, but I am grateful I did. I had a permanent gastric bypass, and that's called a Roux-en-Y gastric bypass. And my weight dropped, and I was able to I'd had 2 children prior to that time, and I was able to have 2 more children after that. I had several miscarriages in there, and that plummeted me in depression too. But little did I know that all these things were related. No one could ever, point to the root cause. And so when you have a Roux-en-Y gastric bypass, you predispose your gut to malabsorption of vital nutrients. You don't absorbed a lot of minerals and vitamins, especially your B vitamins, which are so critical to thriving. And you also allow your gut to develop something called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, where bacteria sneak in from the large intestine into the small intestine. So I'm going to wrap it back up and try to answer your original question. What got me into this? Well, as a physician, I had also been placed on a statin drug to lower my cholesterol because I wanted to be around when my girls got to be older. But then I sunk into a suicidal depression as a mid-40s woman, and the physician could not relate that to the use of a statin medication. And I trusted in my conventional allopathic physicians and tried another one like 9 months later, and the same thing happened. And so then I went to this wonderful psychiatrist that I've been seeing through the years for my antidepressant medicine management. And he said, you know, based on your family history, why don't you see if you have this particular methylation problem called MTHFR, but little did I know that it's the tip of the iceberg. And I thank this psychiatrist in the Houston area because my husband and I had done 23andMe, and I checked my 23andMe, and sure enough, I had that particular gene. And my husband and I had been married almost 20 years, and I said, honey, look at this. And he said, oh my gosh, you mean there's hope? So I did not know that my husband felt that way about my battle with depression through the years. And so, yeah, I gotten thin, but I still wasn't happy, and I was still struggling. So that started me on the journey. I started looking at Dr. Daniel Amen. It's spelled like prayer, amen, A-M-E-N, who's a functional psychiatrist. And then that led me into looking at nutrition. And then I found the Institute for Functional Medicine. And I started taking courses, and I began their certification process in 2015 and opened my own functional medicine practice with only the core class under my belt in June of 2015. And then I passed all my courses and took the test and passed it in April of 2017. And here we are almost 4 years later. And I thank God I've got a waiting list into January now. And here it is, November, and I'm seeing children as a primary care provider with a functional bend, and seeing adults as a consultant. And people are getting better day by day, and I'm so much better. Even after having that bypass, my weight had snuck almost up to 190 again. Then I began treating myself with supplementation at the root cause, and the weight just started falling off, and I didn't have that compulsive all or none dieting mind. I wasn't black or white, and I did not put the pressure on myself because my neurotransmitters were so much better balanced by providing my body with the nutrients it needed. And it's been life-changing. One last thing, my fourth daughter, my last daughter, who's now 12, developed juvenile idiopathic arthritis at very young, at about 15 to 18 months of age. And instead of wanting to treat her with just the conventional biologic agents, we really desired to look outside the box. No one ever asked us about nutrition. And we know that sugar, carbs are drivers of inflammation in any autoimmune illness. And I was never asked that by the pediatric rheumatologist. You know, Sarah, what are you eating every day? And so our whole life changed. We do things very differently at our house now. We're not perfect. And when you deal with teenagers, you know, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink, but you can sure bend them that direction. And so that's my story. That's why I'm in functional medicine, because it's changed my life and the life of my husband, the life of my children, and now the lives of my patients.
That's such an amazing journey. And I love that you said we're not perfect, because I think that's
No.
where some of us tend to get stuck, is we have these expectations, that all or nothing that you were speaking to. We have these expectations. Well, if I'm not doing it 100%, I'm not doing it at all. Or we do really well. And I've seen this in clients, I've seen this just in the general public, where people go, oh, well, I already ruined it with this one thing. Like, oh, I already ruined it with that piece of chocolate. So now I'm going to have pizza and ice cream, and, and then they go off on this
Mm,
sort of bender in a guilt spiral. And
yes.
so that's such a common thing. And so I think a part of that, because I'm the same. I tell people, I'm not perfect. Like, I'm not, it's not 100% clean and on all day, every day, because that's not always realistic.
Yes. It's not life. It's not where we live. So
Right.
you are absolutely right.
I'd love to ask you, because we have some of our journeys are a little, like, they're very different, but also similar in some ways, just in terms of depression and the compulsive eating. That's how I had binge eating, compulsive eating, emotional eating, pretty much all of that, bundled together, and then in and out of depression, anxiety, and insomnia, and some of these other
Mm.
things. And of course, as I shared with you, endometriosis, and all of the other diagnoses. And I'm curious. I know for me, now and then, it's like I'll have something sort of sneak up on me a little bit. Like, maybe if my situation changes or my stress suddenly increases, I might notice my sleep needs more attention. It'll creep up a little bit. Do you currently, now that you're in this space of really kind of monitoring how you are, how you're feeling, do you ever notice those things, whether it's the depression or the relationship with food? Do you ever notice these things start to kind of creep in if there's a change, or do you feel like it's just totally eradicated from your life at this point?
No, that's that's a really great question, Kenny. Yes, I see those things sneak in now because life happens, and the stress that we carry, um, you know, it's the ebb and flow. And when I hear people's life circumstances, that takes a toll on you. But then the best part of it is realizing I can give them hope, and that there always is hope. There's never, oh, there's no hope at all. There's never any circumstance like that. And yes, there are times that, golly, I want to eat something not so good. I very rarely drink alcohol because I don't like the way it makes me feel the majority of the time, but sometimes I'll have a glass of wine. But I'm very selective. And sometimes, the not feeling so hot afterwards, nobody's perfect. And I eat dark chocolate because dark chocolate, greater than 72% cacao, has resveratrol. It drives your serotonin, makes you feel good. So I'll have that too. In fact, that's the only kind we've got in our house. Our kids don't like that, but that's what we have. So, yeah, no one's perfect. It's the ebb and flow of life. So the thing is setting yourself up for success. And when I feel myself feeling sad or depressed, then I kind of need to look and go, okay, what do I need? I need some respite. I need some balance. I need some exercise. I need to put my brain on hold and rest, whatever. But also setting ourselves up with things that we can go to food-wise that are yummy, that are healthy, and having those things available. That's important too. But, yeah. So no, everyone struggles with those things. It's situational. It doesn't completely go away.
Yeah, I love that that you're speaking to that some, because I think sometimes we think we get to a certain place, um, and we think, okay, everything's better now, and then almost like forget about the work we did and that got us there. And so, what I would love to
Mhm.
share with our viewers and our listeners is, on your healing journey, just like Dr. K said, there's always hope. Like, if you're still alive and breathing, better is possible. And then when you notice things kind of creeping up, because this is how it is for me, I do exactly what you do. When I notice that I begin to sink into old habits or have those kinds of compulsions or cravings or anything like that, I take that step back and ask myself, what do I need? What is missing? Did I let time get the best of me and not make room for myself to move my body on a regular basis? Or do I just need to get out in nature? Or do I just need, and looking at the nutrition or what, the rest. And so when we've gone on, each of us have a different healing journey and we need different things, and being able to take a step back and give ourselves the grace to recognize we don't have to be perfect. It's not just bright and shiny all the time. And sometimes when we notice those things creep up, it's just an invitation to take a step back and acknowledge, what do we need in order to sort of get back to that, like that homing beacon, like get back to ourselves and sometimes
Yes.
it's really basic. It can be so basic.
I like how you said that, to just take a step back and look, because we tend to not do that. We're going full throttle, and instead of just taking a little time, even to journal or just sit quietly, completely disconnect from social media, that's so important. And I just find myself, uh, needing that, and to, uh, just sit and talk and be present, not connected to other things, but be present with my family and my kids and my husband.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, because I think we forget sometimes. Because I notice for me, it's like I call nature like vitamin N, because for my life,
Mm-hmm.
so important. And so if I don't, I want to be outside. So if the weather's been funky for a while and I keep planning these outside activities and they just don't go through, it's important to me to find ways to surround myself with natural beauty in some way. And that sort of brings me, especially for stress for me, that's a big, that and exercise, both of those really help me manage stress. And so we all have those little things. Sometimes it's that one-on-one connection or the family gatherings and connection. um, and sometimes we just get so serious and we forget how much we need play and laughter.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's absolutely right. Yeah, that's one thing I really like about my 15 and my 12-year-old. My husband and I started late, ended late. I was 30, he was 31, and then I had my last one at 43. And so I've got a married daughter and a son-in-law and a grandson, and she's almost 24, and then the 19-year-old, and then my 15 and 12-year-old, and they just keep us roaring. And, who blows their nose into a recorder out of each nostril and walks around the living room? That's the kind of stuff we need, to just gut belly laughter, funny stuff. And, it's great. It keeps you laughing and not being so serious and taking yourself so seriously. And that's what I love too about pediatrics. I mean, I get to hold kids, and have them do funny things, and then also treat their parents, functionally. And then you see the whole family getting better, and it's just really awesome. So it's great.
yes, yes, I love that. So there are a lot of women across the world that are interested in getting to the root, but maybe
Mm,
don't, they're not close to a functional medical doctor. They're not, they don't have access to drive down the road and talk to someone like you who's that passionate about getting to the root. And so they get overwhelmed with the ins and outs of advocating for their healing journey. And so I'm curious, do you have any favorite resources or suggestions for
mhm.
a place to start for these individuals looking for this kind of education or support?
Yes, that is a great question. One thing that I encourage people to do is go to it's ifm.org. It's the Institute for Functional Medicine.org. And you can search for a practitioner in your area. Those are functional medicine physicians, and they're all over the world, China, Australia, Belgium, um, and you can make connections that way. Now, for women's health issues, something that is very realistic and very affordable, that actually just came out, and I really like it because it looks at the genetic root causes of infertility, PCOS, endometriosis, preeclampsia, female cancers, insulin resistance, which and gestational diabetes, hypothyroidism, hormone regulation issues, which so many of those things tie in with endometriosis, estrogen dominance, PCOS. There's a company called GX, just the letters GX Sciences, and they've developed a women's health panel. It has 27 different genetic markers on it that look at nutrition and genetics. Because if we look at the drivers of endometriosis, PCOS, infertility, there's a lot of common threads.
Yes.
So I really think that before any women go on any hormone replacement at all, they need to know if they are one of those people that's susceptible to developing estrogen-related cancers, breast or ovarian. And so, you need to find that out. So this particular panel, you can order from a practitioner that works with GX Sciences. So a person can go to that website, and regardless of where they are, they can find a provider in their area, because you have to order the kit through a provider. Now, in the state of Texas, I'm one of those providers. I think the panel is $199. You just basically, it's a cheek swab, and it takes several weeks. Usually it's more like a 7 to 10 day turnaround. It's sent to a private lab in Austin. They don't sell their data like 23andMe and Ancestry.com. Now 23andMe has teamed up with a pharmaceutical company. And so your data has been sold. And, data hacking, data mining, someone broke into Ancestry.com too, so they don't share their information. They are doing studies in their own private lab, but, it would be a major violation if they let their data out to anyone else. So it's a wonderful private lab. They're CLIA certified. And these specific genetic markers, which someone could order the test, do a consultation with any one of the providers through GX Sciences. But if you're in Texas, we could do that with you. I have a nutritionist who can Skype or do a phone call. But also, if you needed to come in, as of January 1 in the state of Texas, you do not need a face-to-face meeting. Well, in person, you can have a telemedicine type conference. So at that point, I could prescribe something that would lower inflammation. But supplement recommendations are very, very important, but I wouldn't make any of those recommendations until I had genetics that told me what do your genes need nutritionally to function optimally. So this panel talks about inflammation. It talks about estrogen metabolism and clearance, different vitamin conversion and delivery, hormone metabolism, follicular sensitivity, where it looks at the FSH, follicle stimulating hormone receptor. It looks at metabolic risk factors involving the thyroid, and then a process called autophagy and how you respond to insulin and insulin resistance. Then it also looks at hypertension risk and vitamin D metabolism. So that panel alone gives a huge amount of information. And so for a woman looking to start, that's affordable, $199 for the panel, and then depending on how long you need a consultation for, anywhere from, it's just contingent upon how much time you want. And, you know, a lot of people complain about functional medicine practitioners not taking insurance. Well, there's not a lot of us that do, but what's more important than your health? Yeah. And if you invest in your health and pay more initially, the benefits, you can't put a price tag on having health going forward, and nipping autoimmunity, impaired detoxification of your body, knowing how to target that going forward, it can make such a huge difference. So that you're not bouncing back and forth between doctors getting a pill for this and a pill for that. So I always just like to say, you're investing in your life, you're investing in your health. Why not be healthy moving forward? I mean, I'm 54 and I'm healthier than I've been in my life. So, you know, that says a lot. And same with my husband. I met him, you know, when he was 27, and he's healthier at 55 and more bulked up and just great across the board than he ever was as a cadet at West Point. I mean, he was an Army buff officer guy, but he's even better now at 55 than he was then. So investing, uncovering the root causes, and that's a great resource for women across the world. GX Sciences, find a practitioner close to you. And then there's also me in Houston. So, all right.
I love what you were saying about investing in your health, because I believe we pay for it anyway. It's just a matter of when. Like investing for vibrant health, for potentially a better quality of life, a longer life with less money going into putting Band-Aids over our symptoms, essentially, and surgeries and things down the line. Investing in health now. So yes, I think at some point we're gonna be investing in this. It's just at which point, investing in the root and the hope and better, or investing in the attempts at fixes to sustain life later. But what quality is that, you know?
Correct.
So
Correct.
I love that you brought that up. So yes, I love this. I have a radical idea I would love to throw out at you.
Sure.
I have not done this panel, and I think it would be fantastic if I had this panel ordered for me, and we went through this, and we actually either audio recorded or video recorded what we find along the way, so that our women that are, you know, interested in this and watching this and finding us over time can actually see in real time maybe what the process looks like, that they can see because I wouldn't mind sharing, you know, results and things like that. I'm a pretty And so if you would be up for that journey with me, I would love for us to document it for our listeners and viewers.
You bet. I love that idea. That sounds really fun. That sounds great.
All right.
So, yeah, let's do it. Let's do
Okay.
it.
Yeah, so guys, we're gonna do this, but just to reiterate, you go to GX Sciences. That is going to, oh wait, first you go to ifm.org, yes? To find
Yeah,
the,
that'll,
mhm.
any functional medicine doc, correct.
First we go to ifm.org and we find a functional medical doctor in our area. Now, as we were just chatting with, if you're in Texas, Dr. K can actually help you with this, even if you're not local. And she has a nutritionist on staff that'll do your video, just like if you're watching, you're seeing me here. That way, you still get face to face if you're not in the area, so that you can get access to the support and the results. And then GX Sciences is where we order the Women's Health Panel for about $199 in US dollars is what we know to be the range right now. And that'll give us those 27 genetic markers and just give us an idea. And Dr. K, let me ask you, for somebody, this is especially crucial for someone who, like I know someone recently who has been diagnosed with breast cancer. She has been going through surgeries. This is something that even someone who's in that fight can do, and maybe even um, you know, launch even more towards her healing journey. Yes?
Absolutely. One thing I did want to correct, Kenny, was that in order to order the panel for GX Sciences, you can go to their website, but you have to order it through a practitioner on their website. You know, you have to contact that doctor, and if that'll help people find someone in their geographic location, because there's people all over the world that do GX Sciences.
Yes.
In Texas, there's quite a few. Arizona, Washington, Minnesota, Wisconsin. I mean, they're all over the place. So you have to have a physician order it for you. Now, at my office, when you call, you could say, hey, I would like to become a patient. I would like to order this swab. Can I pay for it? Can you drop ship it to me? And I heard Dr. K on this podcast with Kenny, and that's what I'd like to do. And I'll let my staff know, and then we could set you up once we have the results. But we have, a patient portal that you have to complete, because we look at your history before we just start slamming stuff at you, in addition to just doing the consultation. But you don't necessarily have to come in, especially if it's a meeting with Catherine, my nutritionist. But if there is anything prescriptive, then we would need you to see me, because of course she can't prescribe that. But anything we can do with natural supplementation, and that's pretty much what I do. I do prescribe a few things, but very few. So that would be great. So yes, to clarify that, they can go and find a practitioner on GX Sciences, but then they have to get in touch with that practitioner to order the panel.
Thank you so much for the clarification. And for those of you who decide to do this and you find a practitioner and they're the closest geographically but not realistic to drive to, contact that practitioner and see, they may, in that area or region, they may be able to do some of this without you having to go to the office, but you'll just have to, of course, contact them, talk to them, and see if it's a possibility.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. This has been so informative. I do want to ask you, for those women that have endometriosis, that have other hormone and just women's health diagnoses, PCOS, like you were talking about, insulin resistance, do you have any just, just one or two specific tips that like a place where they might start or something that is just a place for them to go, oh, that's something I could just easily maybe adopt into my life. Anything specific?
Absolutely. Well, with endometriosis, PCOS, insulin resistance, and impaired estrogen metabolism is a major player. So there's a website and a supplement that I think would be really good, but it's called Chiral Balance. It's CHIRAL balance.com. CHIRAL balance.com. And there is a product called D-chiroinositol. I recommend that a woman with PCOS, endometriosis, consider taking D-chiroinositol, 600 milligrams, once or twice a day. And that improves a process called autophagy. And that's intracellular cleaning. And it also helps allow the body to become more sensitive to insulin. So you just go to that website, read about it, and it's Chiral Balance Women's Wellness, and it'll explain how it works. Another thing that's very, very good for PCOS and helping with detoxification and endometriosis is something called calcium D-glucarate. I recommend 600 milligrams twice a day, and calcium D-glucarate. You can find that there's a lot of good manufacturers of it, Designs for Health, Zymogen, Pure Encapsulations, but calcium D-glucarate, 600 milligrams twice a day.
Okay.
And that really, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to make sure, glucarate, I just want to make sure I'm taking notes, but that I'm spelling it correctly. GLUC, would that be ORATE?
It's GLUCARATE.
Perfect.
And you want to go high. You want to do like 500 to 600 milligrams twice a day. I think, Now Nutrition is a pretty good brand, and they have 500 milligram caps. Now Nutrition, NOW. But, you just need to be really careful where you get your supplements from. You don't want knockoffs, and sometimes getting things off Amazon, you've got to be really careful. A lot of Chinese knockoffs and stuff like that. So, and that's published data. That's not something I'm making up. Forbes magazine published an article in September of 2017 where 57% of the supplements were adulterated with heavy metals, not saying what they say they are, and this is public information, so I'm not saying it to be unkind. It's documented that even though Amazon talks about temperature control, when you go by a lot of the centers, their doors are wide open. And so you cannot guarantee the temperature, that kind of thing. You just have to be extremely careful. So you want to get your products from a good, reputable provider.
Thank you. Thank you for that information, because I know sometimes we just kind of go places and we're like, well, that one's the cheapest, and grab it. So
right.
Take that step back and pay attention to the quality and the sourcing of our supplements.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So I have just so appreciated you being here with me. This is such amazing information for all women, for really all people. And So I appreciate it. And I wanted to take a moment, and if you don't mind, would you just share where our listeners and viewers can find you and stay connected with you?
Oh yeah. Thank you for that. My last name, well, it's Paula, and then Kruppstadt, P as in Paul, P as in Paul, Stadt, and I'm an MD, and my office is located in Shenandoah, Texas, which is between Spring, Conroe, right around the Woodlands, essentially is the Woodlands. And our office number is 281-725-6767. And our website is GET, the number 2, theroot.com. And our address is 150 Pine Forest Drive, Suite 701, Shenandoah, Texas, 77384. The email address is on the website, but gettotheroot.com. And I would love it if you guys would reach out, and I'd be happy to assist any of your clients too, Kenny, that are having difficulty. And Catherine, my nutritionist, is wonderful. And yeah, we'd love to help in any way we can.
Oh,
But thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast. I'm really grateful for that.
Absolutely. We are so grateful that you decided to join us and to do this. And I, throughout this whole process, I've made little mental notes because I would love to have you back. You have so much wonderful, valuable information to share, and so many of our listeners want help and need help. And so I appreciate you being here with us. Thank you so much.
Well, pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much, Kenny.
Thank you. So thank you guys for watching and for listening. Of course, as always, if you have any specific questions that didn't get answered, please reach out to me directly. You can, of course, find me on Facebook at Kenny Rochelle Coaching. And we are here for you. So please don't hesitate if there's something you want to learn more about, something that we haven't tackled on K&K Real Talk. You can reach out to Kristen directly. You can reach out to me directly. We're here for you. We're here for you being an advocate for your healing journey and your health. And we will see you next week.